Hello.
And welcome to Larry's Library.
Hello. Welcome to Larry's Library. We're continuing to read Pinocchio. Paul, please stop that. So we're continuing to read Pinocchio, chapters 10, 11, and 12. You know what? I did not read ahead today. I will be just as surprised as you are at whatever happens in these next 3 chapters. Chapter 10, the puppets recognize their brother Pinocchio and receive him with delight, but at that moment their master Fire Eater makes his appearance. That's the name of the chapter. Long chapter names. When Pinocchio came into the little puppet theater, an incident occurred that almost produced a revolution. I must tell you that the curtain was drawn up and the play had already begun. On the stage, Harlequin and Punchinello were as usual quarreling with each other and threatening every moment to come to blows. The audience, all attention, laughed uproariously as they listened to the bickerings of these two puppets, who gesticulated and abused each other so naturally that they might have been two reasonable beings and two persons of the world. All at once Harlequin stopped short, and turning to the public, he pointed with his hand to someone far down in the pit and exclaimed in a dramatic tone, "Gods of the firmament! Do I dream or am I awake? But surely that is Pinocchio!" "It is indeed Pinocchio!" cried Punchinello. "It is indeed himself!" screamed Miss Rose, peeping from behind the scenes. "It is Pinocchio! It is Pinocchio!" shouted all the puppets in chorus, leaping from all sides onto the stage. "It is Pinocchio! It is our brother Pinocchio! Long live Pinocchio! Pinocchio, come up here to me!" cried Harlequin, "and throw yourself into the arms of your wooden brothers." At this affectionate invitation, Pinocchio made a leap from the end of the pit into the reserved seats. Another leap landed him on the head of the leader of the orchestra, and he then sprang upon the stage. The embraces, the hugs, the friendly pinches, and the demonstrations of warm brotherly affection that Pinocchio received from the excited crowd of actors and actresses of the Puppet Dramatic Company beat description. It's a long sentence. The sight was doubtless a moving one, but the public in the pit, finding that the play was stopped, became impatient and began to shout, "We will have the play! Go on with the play!" It was all breath thrown away. The puppets, instead of continuing the recital, redoubled their noises and outcries, and putting Pinocchio on their shoulders, they carried him in triumph before the footlights. At that moment, out came the showman. He was very big and so ugly that the sight of him was enough to frighten anyone. His beard was as black as ink and so long that it reached from his chin to the ground. I need only say that he trod upon it when he walked. His mouth was as big as an oven, and his eyes were like 2 lanterns of red glass with lights burning inside them. He carried a large whip made of snakes and foxes' tails twisted together, which he cracked constantly. At his unexpected appearance there was a profound silence. No one dared to breathe. A fly might have been heard in the stillness. The poor puppets of both sexes trembled like so many leaves. "Why have you come to raise a disturbance in my theater?" asked the showman of Pinocchio in the gruff voice of a hobgoblin suffering from a severe cold in the head. "Believe me honoured, sir, that it was not my fault." "That is enough. Tonight we will settle our accounts." As soon as the play was over, the showman went into the kitchen, where a fine sheep, preparing for his supper, was turning slowly on the spit in front of the fire. As there was not enough wood to finish roasting and browning it, he called Harlequin and Punchinello and said to them, "Bring that puppet here. You will find him hanging on a nail. It seems to me that he is made of very dry wood, and I am sure that if he was thrown on the fire, he would make a beautiful blaze for the roast." At first Harlequin and Punchinello hesitated, but appalled by a severe glance from their master, they obeyed. In a short time they returned to the kitchen, carrying poor Pinocchio, who was wriggling like an eel taken out of water and screaming desperately, "Papa, Papa, save me! I will not die! I will not die!" Chapter 11. Fire Eater sneezes and pardons Pinocchio, who then saves the life of his friend Harlequin. That's shorter than the last chapter title. The showman, Fire Eater, for that was his name, looked, I must say, a terrible man, especially with his black beard that covered his chest and legs like an apron. On the whole, however, he had not a bad heart. In proof of this, when he saw poor Pinocchio brought before him, struggling and screaming, "I will not die! I will not die!" he was quite moved and felt very sorry for him. He tried to hold out, but after a little he could stand it no longer, and he sneezed violently. When he heard the sneeze, Harlequin, who up to that moment had been in the deepest affliction and bowed down like a weeping willow, became quite cheerful, and leaning towards Pinocchio, he whispered to him softly, "Good news, brother. The showman has sneezed, and that is a sign that he pities you, and consequently you are saved." For you must know that whilst most men, when they feel compassion for somebody, either weep or at least pretend to dry their eyes, Fire Eater, on the contrary, whenever he was really overcome, had the habit of sneezing. After he had sneezed, the showman, still acting the ruffian, shouted at Pinocchio, "Have done crying! Your lamentations have given me a pain in my stomach. I feel a spasm that almost... Atsy! Atsy!" And he sneezed again twice. "Bless you," said Pinocchio. "Thank you. And your papa and your mamma, are they still alive?" asked Fire Eater. "Papa, yes. My mamma I have never known." "Who can say what a sorrow it would be for your poor old father if I was to have you thrown amongst those burning coals? Poor old man, I compassionate him. Atsy! Atsy! Atsy!" And he sneezed again 3 times. "Bless you," said Pinocchio. "Thank you. All the same, some compassion is due to me, for, as you see, I have no more wood with which to finish roasting my mutton, and to tell you the truth, under the circumstances, you would have been of great use to me. However, I have had pity on you, so I must have patience. Instead of you, I will burn under the spit one of the puppets belonging to my company. Hold there, gendarmes!" At this call, 2 wooden gendarmes immediately appeared. They were very long and very thin, and had on cocked hats and held unsheathed swords in their hands. The showman said to them in a hoarse voice, "Take Harlequin, bind him securely, and then throw him on the fire to burn. I am determined that my mutton shall be well roasted." Only imagine that poor Harlequin. His terror was so great that his legs bent under him, and he fell with his face on the ground. At this agonizing sight, Pinocchio, weeping bitterly, threw himself at the showman's feet, and bathing his long beard with his tears, he began to say in a supplicating voice, "Have pity, Sire Fire Eater! Have pity, Sir Fire Eater!" Here there are no sirs," the showman answered severely. "Have pity, Sir Knight!" "Here there are no knights." "Have pity, Commander!" "Here there are no commanders." "Have pity, Excellence!" Upon hearing himself called Excellence, the showman began to smile, and became at once kinder and more tractable. Turning to Pinocchio, he asked, "Well, what do you want from me?" "I implore you to pardon poor Harlequin." "For him there can be no pardon. As I have spared you, he must be put on the fire, for I am determined that my mutton shall be well roasted." "In that case," cried Pinocchio proudly, rising and throwing away his cap of breadcrumb, "in that case I know my duty. Come on, gendarmes, bind me and throw me amongst the flames. No, it is not just that poor Harlequin, my true friend, should die for me. No, it is not just that poor Harlequin, my true friend, should die for me." These words, pronounced in a loud, heroic voice, made all the puppets who were present cry. Even the gendarmes, although they were made of wood, wept like 2 newly born lambs. Fire Eater at first remained as hard and unmoved as ice, but little by little he began to melt and to sneeze. And having sneezed 4 or 5 times, he opened his arms affectionately and said to Pinocchio, "You were a good, brave boy. Come here and give me a kiss." Pinocchio ran at once, and climbing like a squirrel up the showman's beard, he deposited a hearty kiss on the point of his nose. "Then the pardon is granted?" asked poor Harlequin in a faint voice that was scarcely audible. "The pardon is granted," answered Fire Eater. He then added, sighing and shaking his head, "I must have patience. Tonight I shall have to resign myself to eat the mutton half raw, but another time woe to him who chances." At the news of the pardon, the puppets all ran to the stage, and having lighted the lamps and chandeliers as if for a full-dress performance, they began to leap and to dance merrily. At dawn they were still dancing. Chapter 12. The showman Fire Eater makes Pinocchio a present of 5 gold pieces to take home to his father Geppetto, but Pinocchio instead allows himself to be taken in by the fox and the cat. Hey, maybe just tells the whole story there, right? The following day, Fire Eater called Pinocchio on one side and asked him, "What is your father's name?"
Geppetto.
"And what trade does he follow?"
He is a beggar.
"Does he gain much?"
Gain much? Why, he has never a penny in his pocket. Only think, to buy a spelling book for me to go to school, he was obliged to sell the only coat he had to wear. A coat that between patches and darns was not fit to be seen."
"Poor devil! I feel almost sorry for him. Here are 5 gold pieces. Go at once and take them to him with my compliments."
You can easily understand that Pinocchio thanked the showman 1,000 times. He embraced all the puppets of the company one by one, even to the gendarmes, and beside himself with delight, set out to return home. But he had not gone far when he met on the road a fox lame of one foot and a cat blind of both eyes, who were going along helping each other like good companions in misfortune. The fox, who was lame, walked leaning on the cat, and the cat, who was blind, was guided by the fox.
"Good day, Pinocchio," said the fox, accosting him politely.
"How do you come to know my name?" asked the puppet.
"I know your father well."
"Where did you see him?"
"I saw him yesterday at the door of his house."
"And what was he doing?"
"He was in his shirt sleeves and shivering with cold."
"Poor papa, but that is over. For the future he shall shiver no more."
"Why?"
"Because I am become a gentleman."
"A gentleman, you?" said the fox, and he began to laugh rudely and scornfully. The cat also began to laugh, but to conceal it she combed her whiskers with her forepaws.
"There is little to laugh at," cried Pinocchio angrily. "I am really sorry to make your mouths water, but if you know anything about it, you can see that these here are 5 gold pieces." And he pulled out the money that Fire Eater had made him a present of. At the sympathetic ring of the money, the fox, with an involuntary movement, stretched out the paw that had seemed crippled, and the cat opened wide 2 eyes that looked like 2 green lanterns. It is true that she shut them again, and so quickly that Pinocchio observed nothing.
"And now," asked the fox, "what are you going to do with all that money?"
"First of all," answered the puppet, "I intend to buy a new coat for my papa, made of gold and silver, and with diamond buttons, and then I will buy a spelling book for myself."
"For yourself?"
"Yes, indeed, for I wish to go to school to study in earnest."
"Oh, look at me," said the fox. "Through my foolish passion for study, I have lost a leg."
"Look at me," said the cat. "Through my foolish passion for study, I have lost the sight of both my eyes."
At that moment, a white blackbird that was perched on the hedge by the road began his usual song and said, "Pinocchio, don't listen to the advice of bad companions. If you do, you will repent it."
Poor blackbird! If only he had not spoken. The cat, with a great leap, sprang upon him, and without even giving him time to say, "Oh!" ate him in a mouthful, feathers and all. Having eaten him and cleaned her mouth, she shut her eyes again and feigned blindness as before. "Poor blackbird," said Pinocchio to the cat. "Why did you treat him so badly?"
"I did it to give him a lesson. He will learn another time not to meddle in other people's conversation."
They had gone almost halfway when the fox, halting suddenly, said to the puppet,
Would you like to double your money?"
"In what way?"
"Would you like to make out of your 5 miserable sovereigns 100, 1,000, 2,000?"
"I should think so, but in what way?"
"The way is easy enough. Instead of returning home, you must go with us."
"And where do you wish to take me?"
"To the land of the owls."
Pinocchio reflected a moment, and then he said resolutely, "No, I will not go. I am already close to the house, and I will return home to my papa, who is waiting for me. Who can tell how often the poor old man must have sighed yesterday when I did not come back? I have indeed been a bad son, and the talking cricket was right when he said disobedient boys never come to any good in the world. I have found it to my cost, for many misfortunes have happened to me. Even yesterday in Fire Eater's house I ran the risk. Oh, it makes me shudder only to think of it."
"Well then," said the fox, "you are quite decided to go home. Go then, and so much the worse for you."
"So much the worse for you," repeated the cat.
"Think well of it, Pinocchio, for you are giving a kick to fortune."
"To fortune," repeated the cat.
"Between today and tomorrow, your 5 sovereigns would have become 2,000.
2,000, repeated the cat. But how is it possible that they could have become so many? But how is it possible that they could have become so many? Asked Pinocchio, remaining with his mouth open from astonishment.
"I will explain it to you at once," said the fox. "You must know that in the land of the owls there is a sacred field called by everybody the Field of Miracles. In this field you must dig a little hole, and you put into it we will say 1 gold sovereign. You then cover up the hole with a little earth. You must water it with 2 pails of water from the fountain, then sprinkle it with 2 pinches of salt, and when night comes you can quietly go to bed. In the meanwhile, during the night, the gold piece will grow and flower, and in the morning when you get up and return to the field, what do you find? You find a beautiful tree laden with as many gold sovereigns as a fine ear of corn has grains in the month of June.
So that,
said Pinocchio, more and more bewildered,
supposing I buried my 5 sovereigns in the field, how many should I find there the following morning?
That is an exceedingly easy calculation, replied the fox, a calculation that you can make on the ends of your fingers. Put that every sovereign gives you an increase of 500, multiply 500 by 5, and the following morning you will find you with 2,500 shining gold pieces in your pocket.
Oh, how delightful! Cried Pinocchio, dancing for joy. As soon as ever I have obtained those sovereigns, I will keep 2,000 for myself, and the other 500 I will make a present of to you two.
A present to us? Cried the fox with indignation and appearing much offended. Well, what are you dreaming of?
What are you dreaming of? Repeated the cat.
Well, we do not work, said the fox, for dirty interest. We work solely to enrich others.
Others, repeated the cat. What good people, thought Pinocchio to himself. And forgetting there and then his papa, the new coat, the spelling book, and all his good resolutions, he said to the fox and the cat, Let us be off at once. I will go with you.
Think that was a good idea? I don't think that's a good idea. Do you think it's a good idea?
Nope.
Find out next week.
Oh, and the next chapter is the end of the Red Crawfish.
What does that mean?
That is
That's a short title. Thank you very much. This has been Larry's Library.
I am.
Bye. Keep your hands clean.
Bye.